I needed to purge. So welcome to the purging. Let's toast to today's video. Stay tuned for the tea. So when we left off, we were funployed, having the time of our lives in Atlanta. And I just feel like, I haven't really did a welcome video since 2018 when I started the channel. You can go back and you can look and see how chaotic that was. But yeah, I haven't really done an update video. I've kind of just took a little mini break to get my mental prepared for what I wanted to even come and do, how I wanted to present it, like what I wanted it to be. Like, do I want this to be like update, or do I want this to be like where I am now? Like, I didn't know, so I need to take a little step back and I need to figure it out. So here we are today. Breaking news. Oh my god, it feels like news creator. News creator. This literally gives breaking news, okay? Like talk show host, baby. You never know what I'll do. But I'm gonna put my cup down, or should I not? Because I might need to sip on that, okay? Period. Well, once upon a time, there was a girl with a big dream and a lot of dreams to move around a lot. And once upon a time, that girl was born October 6th and she turned 30 last year. So life is different now. I mean, one of the things that I could say is when you turn 30, if your life is on the up and up, if your life is about to have a major switch, have a major change, something just kind of hits and you kind of just start reflecting all over your 20s and you're like, where do we want to change? What do we want to do new? And everything has to go. Pretty much. Pretty much. That's the best way that I can explain it to y'all, is that pretty much everything has to go. You have to purge everything, get rid of everything, throw all your clothes away, throw your man away, your girl away, whatever, move to a new city, move back somewhere, whatever it is. Sometimes you just simply need to purge, and that's my story. Like, I needed to purge. So welcome to the purging. Can't just jump right in at 30 without giving y'all the full overview. So if you haven't been following me for a while, I am Ebony Nicole, and I'm so happy to have y'all here. I love having y'all here. I love when y'all come and meet me in the comments, subscribe, like, and just in the views too. After I left college, I decided to move to LA. I feel like LA plays a major role in my story. Like it's almost like my personality, because that was the start of realizing like life is whatever I make it. Like, I can do anything I put my mind to. Stepped on those LA grounds, like I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be in that moment. And I finally, for the first time, I moved to LA when I was 22. For the first time in 22 years, I felt like I was home. And that just changed my whole entire narrative. Like, just from that day forward. Now, was living in LA easy? Was it a walk in the park? Was it a breeze? No, but because I was so happy and at peace with my decision to move there, I genuinely learned so much about myself. I was able to heal in ways that I would not have been able to heal in Virginia. So I am from raised in Virginia, and like leaving, it was just like, I have big dreams to be who I want to be, and yeah, I have to leave all this behind, everybody that I know behind. I moved by myself, moved in with 3 strangers, which 1229 holds a place in my heart. Like, we literally joke about it, like we're gonna get it tatted. It's a moment, and a huge moment in my life. Like, that house will always be the start of a new story, a new beginning for me. Point of, that's not the root of the video today, but I will say, like, that first move, finally feeling like, I had a home for the first time, like in the sense of like in my heart, like, where they say, how they say home is where the heart is. That's what LA was for me. It didn't matter about like where I first started, where my first house was. Baby, we lived in East LA. But And it was just like I was filled with, it was so many things that I feel like at the time God needed me to understand and see, and I could not understand them and see them right here in my hometown. And I was able to, I had the opportunity and I was able to go to LA, find myself, like fall in love with me. And I feel like that will begin like my true self-love journey. And I think like that's where I was just like, oh baby, it's nothing like alone time. I think that's when I was just like, I love being alone. I love being able to create a new reality for yourself. I was able, like when I live in Virginia, I'm always somebody, something. So like whether or not it's like, oh, you're the best friend, you're the sister, you're the TT, I'm always somebody, something. I'm a person who, I am my own person. I feel like I have an amazing personality. I know I have an amazing personality. I know that I'm somebody that, you know, the people want around. Like, I'm me, and I don't need to be attached to anybody else to be me. And I just feel like sometimes in Virginia that gets lost on people. Like, you know, it just feels like, and it's nothing against, I love those titles. I love being the best friend, I love being a sister, I love being a TT and daughter and all these things. But at the end of the day, I am Ebony Nicole, and I will always be her. Like, if everything and everybody were to walk away from me, I still would be me. Being able to be in a whole world where no one knows who you are and they genuinely get to know you as a person, and even to just be called like Ebony and not, oh, you're so-and-so's whatever. And I'm just like, I don't want to be in anybody's shadow because I don't have to live in anyone's shadow. I never had to. I've always done my own thing. I've always had free will. I've always been a free spirit. So why am I living in someone else's shadow? And it's so beautiful. And it's just beautiful to be able to find yourself and not be dependent on other people to grow with you at the same time, or be on that self-love journey with you. Be able to go on solo dates, be able to go on a walk by yourself, and not always be looking for somebody else to get up and do it with you. Because I've always had like somebody with me to do something with. And so I never really had that time before I moved to LA to like find myself. And so when I tell my story, I'm like, yeah, I lived in LA, and it's like, it's so sacred and special to me, not because it's LA, but because of what LA brought to me and what God showed me in LA. Like what was already in me was revealed. So that's a beautiful story in itself. From LA, I would leave, and I feel like from all my hard work, God said, here's your reward of interning in Paris. It's for Fashion Week. That's also a little bit, it's like a little Paris vlog. I think I'm going to try to find that video and repost it, because one of the videos were kind of messed up when I posted it. So I will try to like repost it so y'all can kind of see that. I go to Paris, and from Paris I come back and I am greeted with the pandemic 3 months later. Literally on YouTube, I'm like posting once a week, like where I am now kind of. So I'm posting once a week and I'm doing it. I'm like finally working in the hospitality scene, because I really wanted to be like a waitress and a bottle girl and all that. Did that too. Yeah, that was a fun time. I needed to do it in my 20s. I needed to get it out my system. There's certain things that I just have to do to get out my system. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not. We don't apologize in our 30s for being who we are. Needless to say, that's kind of where the story ends on my YouTube. And then I kind of came back in and I was showing y'all like I traveled the world, did a world tour for my birthday. So we went to Ibiza and we went to London. I came home to Virginia. I was from Atlanta, and I came back to Virginia, then I went back to Atlanta, and then I went to Cabo, and I did all these things, and like that was the fun part of 30. Then the new year hits and 30 gets real. 30 gets real. Oh, and then I also told y'all that I quit my job and I'm funployed, and I'm still currently funployed, but this is where we are now. 30 is not the end. 30 is a brand new beginning. 30 feels so special to me right now in this moment because I've done things that I wouldn't typically do, like quitting my job to like move back to Virginia for like with nothing. Yeah, so I'm back in Virginia. um let's talk about that. Let's get into it. Let's back up. Let's back up because I feel like I skipped steps. 2022, I moved to Atlanta because I haven't even told y'all how I got to Atlanta. Like I literally said, "Oh, this is where we at and this is where we at now." Look, wait, we gotta backtrack. Okay, so 2022, working in the clubs, and I'm like, okay, I was supposed to move to New York in 2020, and then I was just like, pandemic happened and I was doing that whole thing, and once the pandemic happened, like mentally it just took a toll on me being back in Virginia. And I wasn't back in Virginia because I wanted to be back in Virginia. I was back in Virginia because I hadn't got a job in New York yet and I was still applying. And I didn't want to go back to LA because I really wanted something new. Like I know I want to go back to LA at some point in my life if that's what God has for me. But I just was like, I really want to move to New York. And New York was just not happening. Like it kept falling through. Like every time I felt like I was so close to getting to New York, I feel like it would just be snatched from me. So now I'm at the space where everything happens for a reason. And I say this a lot in my videos. Rejection is protection. And so, you know, I could see that now, but at the time I was not in the space that I am now. Okay, whatever. So I'm having fun, I'm having a ball, cool. Then I'm like, okay, the money's starting to slow up. I'm not having a ball anymore. So now I'm getting anxious, now I'm getting antsy. And I'm like, so I wanted to move to Miami. I was looking into Houston, but I kept, like, I was back and forth to Atlanta because one of my best friends lives there. So I'm back and forth. She decides, like, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, I always wanted to do a podcast. And we're pretty funny together. We always having these talks. Like, we're always, you know, why not do the podcast? So in my mind, I'm like, I'm getting money, you know, things is looking up for me. Like, you know, it's nothing. Like, I'm a pretty girl. I could figure it out. So I'm thinking, like, I could move to Miami and I could just fly to Atlanta. And I was like, we're going to be making a new podcast, needing to put out episodes once a week. That just doesn't sound financially smart. And mind you, I'm looking at apartments in Miami. I'm like, you know, doing all the calculations and everything like that. I'm like, I'm moving to a new city, and yeah, it would be nice to hit the ground running and, you know, money just flowing in. But I have to get a job realistically. So I'm like, okay. So then she kind of convinces me to, like, think about Atlanta. So I started thinking about Atlanta. And while she was at work, I went to go to apply to Bloomingdale's. Mind you, like, I wasn't even sold on Atlanta. I didn't even want to be in Atlanta. Like, if anybody tells you, like, I will tell you time and time again, I did not want to move to Atlanta, but I wanted to do the podcast. And I got the job at Bloomingdale's. And everything just seemed like it was aligning. Like, everything just seemed like it was the right thing to do. And still at this point in time, like, I more so was kind of like depending on other people to tell me, like, I'm like, please pray for me and, like, let me know the answer. And so I'm talking to, like, basically like my spiritual grandmother at the time, and she kind of confirmed that Atlanta was right. And then my old roommate, not from 1229, but one of my old roommates from when I lived in West Hollywood, she DMs me and says, I had a dream that you moved to Atlanta and then you moved back to LA. In the process of me just getting the job in Atlanta. So, like, I'm like, this is just confirmation from everywhere. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I moved to Atlanta. Mentally, I'm in a space of, like, if I don't move in 3 days, it's gonna be bad. Like, mentally, I cannot handle feeling suffocated anymore. Like, it was just that bad. Like, if I'm being realistic, I won't go too deep into it, but just note that, just paint that mental picture in your head. So I packed my car up. Anything that could fit in the car came with me. I'm driving. I tell everybody at the club, like, yeah, I'm moving to Atlanta. So I have like my little last hoorah at work. I have my going away dinner, pack my car up. I'm listening to Jasmine Sullivan on the way to Atlanta, and I just feel like this weight lifted off my shoulders. Like as I'm driving, I'm just like, I'm screaming to the top of my lungs, like, gonna move to Atlanta. Da-da-da-da. Like I didn't plan on finding a rapper. That's not why I was moving to Atlanta. But that song, just know that's gonna be like the staple of me moving to Atlanta, right? Okay, so whatever. So I get to Atlanta, I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Whew, I'm feeling the newness. Here on maybe like a Tuesday or something. I had to start work on Wednesday, and I moved into my apartment like that Sunday, I think it was. Yeah, pretty wild teens, pretty wild teens. I did not play no games, and so I ended up not knowing. So I found this place on roomies.com, and I get to the apartment just to find out that it's off campus housing. Needless to say, 120 will do its big one for me, and I will never downplay that because we had a ball. We had a time. I hosted like a cute Barbie pink Christmas dinner. It was real cute. Like I had some fun in there, and you know, like I have some great memories. Like I had so many people come visit me at that apartment. Like that apartment will, you know, drama aside, it was no drama like personally. It was just drama in like with the leasing office. It's off campus housing, like, right. So let that be that, and it's Atlanta at that. So let that be that. Atlanta did not welcome me in. I should have known that Atlanta was going to be a wicked ride, because like I mean, like I got to Atlanta and it was just like, what the, every time I turn around, like it was something, it was something, it was something, it was something, 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 something. It was giving, you didn't want to be here and we don't want you here. But again, I'm a strong girl. I pulled through. Like I can do anything I put my mind to. So never play with me, okay? I was working at Bloomingdale's. I got offered more money at another department store to work in beauty because I was working in clothes at the time. And we will not speak no names, but I've already told y'all in multiple videos, so this place will not get too much time from me. Now that I'm back in Virginia, I've realized like that place was causing me a lot. Like I used to have hives. I used to have allergic reactions, like panic attacks. All these things used to happen to me working there. And honestly, I don't think that it was Atlanta in a sense. I think so it was more so the job. But again, just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind, okay? Me and my best friend obviously don't end up doing the podcast. She decides like, you know, it's just not really for her, which is perfectly fine. It's okay. But I will say that in the end, which I'm gonna just fast forward a little bit and then go back. In the end, I will say me being in Atlanta makes sense for where I was mentally. It has a lot to offer, and it's not that, it just wasn't where I wanted to be for my future self, if that makes sense. I feel like Atlanta is a great place for some people, but I just feel like it wasn't for me. I feel like creatively, I didn't feel inspired being there. I felt like, just in a sense of, I don't know what it was, but it was like I literally would drive through Atlanta sometimes and I would be like, oh, this looks like, so cities in where I'm from, I would be like, this reminds me of Virginia Beach, this reminds me of Suffolk, this reminds me of, and it would just be like, the thought would come to my head, and it wasn't like something that I was telling myself, it was just something that was just happening. So I was just like, this is just not it. Like I kept looking around and I kept trying to make myself love it, and I'm just like, this is just not, it's not it, it's just not for me. I just got in another rut because I'm like, I didn't leave Virginia to be creatively in the same space, to be in the bed rotting away. It's just not what I moved here for. So needless to say, I started planning to go to New York again. And I started applying to jobs. And at this point in my life, this is an important detail that I didn't mention. At this point in my life, I have kind of given up on the idea of doing my own thing and just working a regular job and living like, you know, a good life, but having a 9 to 5 basically. And in this moment, it was like living in Atlanta was like, this is the life. I feel like Atlanta was showing me like, this is the life that you can have if you choose to go the 9 to 5 route. And it was very much like tedious, like I'm living the same day over and over again, and I'm doing things that are different, but somehow it still feels like the same day. Like it feels like that normal life that I've been running from for so long. I don't want to live a normal life. I'm not a normal girl. I don't do things the normal way. You know, I'm me. Like, and I want to be wholeheartedly me in every space, in every aspect of life. And I just felt like, I'm like, I could live a good life, but I will be unhappy. And I feel like that's what Atlanta was showing me. Ended up being like, you know what, I've been talking about that I want to get back into creating content, and I'm going to get back in the space, but in my mind, I'm like, it's going to be like a part-time thing. And I've never been able to really be one of those people that can give something part-time energy and get the results that I want to. I feel like I've always been one of those people where God is like, I need you to give it your all. I need you to go all in, and I need you to be consistent and focused. And not to say that that's why I quit my job, because that will not be the reason. But needless to say, I kind of was like making excuses. I'm like, God, you know, I'm mentally drained, I'm physically drained, like I'm just drained all the way around. I don't want to get out of bed on my days off. I don't want to get out of my bed to go to work. Like I'm just making all these excuses and complaints and everything like that. And it's like, how can your life change if you won't get out the bed? Girl, like make it make sense. New York's not working out at this point, and DC was my second option from New York. And we start planning, we're like looking at apartments in DC and everything like that. She tells me like last minute kind of that she's gonna stay in Atlanta and everything like that. And at this point I feel defeated. So I feel defeated yet again, because I'm like, New York didn't work out, DC isn't like, it's not that it didn't work out, but I just feel too overwhelmed to make something shake at this point. And I just feel like it's just so last minute, and I'm like, I'm stressed, and I'm at the point where I'm like, when I get stressed, I just shut down, because at this point in my life, I didn't know what else to do, which just is not like me at all. But I just was in a space of like, I felt like just tense about everything. Like I was overthinking everything. I would be like asking God for guidance, but I just was so tense and like overwhelmed that I felt like I couldn't even hear from him. So if DC was the right place, I wouldn't have known, because my ears was closed. Somebody didn't come up to me, and I'm like, they tapped me on my shoulder and they showed me a lease in DC, and they showed me the job to match. I was just like, I'm just gonna stay in Atlanta. And so again, this is, to me, it feels like another defeat. But I got to a point where I had to get over myself. I feel like it was just like, you are making these decisions and then you're so upset when things aren't going the way that you want them to go. So I was just like, okay, cool. So needless to say, God will bring me more people in my life to just show me a good time, and life will turn up, because I'm like, life will just start to get a little bit more understanding and lit, and just all around like, okay, she's taking it. Like, I got my mojo back. They're doing these Google certifications for digital marketing, because I'm like, I'm gonna get me a job. Like at this point, I'm still like in the mindset of like, I'm gonna get me a job. Like, yeah. So I'm doing that, and I decide like, okay, how can I make a whole little fun thing out of this? Because mentally I'm not in the space to like just sit at home and do work. So I had to get out the house. So I started going to cafes, and I started to like enjoy the cafes and like just the setting. And I remember when I was living in LA, one of my college best friends, she was studying for the MCAT, and sometimes she would tell me to go to the cafe with her, and I would just go, and it would be a vibe, and I would be watching TV or like doing a little sketch of something or whatever. Oh my god, I missed so many parts of my life. But I would be like sketching and doing all that. So when I did it, when I had remembered that, I'm telling you, like every little piece of my life, like always, there's like a little puzzle piece that God gives me, and then he reminds me of the puzzle piece, and I add it, and it's like, see, this is why that happened. And it could be something so minor as like me going to the cafe with my best friend in LA, and I would in return do that when I moved to Atlanta, and that's what like made me enjoy my time and have fun, and just like going to different cafes, trying different matchas or chais or decaf lattes, because my anxiety, I cannot do I cannot do espresso. If it's not decaf, please take it away from me or I will jump. So yes, but anywho, so yeah, I start to force myself to love where I'm at. I'm like, I could sit here and I could be miserable in Atlanta for another year, but nobody forced me to stay in Atlanta. I technically chose it, even though I feel like I was a little bit forced because it was so last minute. I do feel like it was a choice that I made, so it was something that I had to accept and I had to live with. So just taking that mindset and just, you know, more so, this is like when I feel like my relationship, like I kept saying like, yeah, my relationship with God is getting so much stronger, but I feel like last year was when it really I started to see it, and it started to show more to me. Because I was just like, I have to enjoy the space that I'm in right now. I moved to Atlanta because I wanted to have mental peace. Not saying that I was going to find it in Atlanta, but just getting out of Virginia, that's why I moved, because I was like, I felt so crowded in my mind and everything that I had going on around me. I needed to just breathe. And I'm like, I'm looking back at it and I'm like, I did learn how to breathe again moving here. So I'm like, maybe it was worth something. I didn't go into Atlanta asking God for much other than mental peace. And I left Atlanta with mental peace. So I'm like, you know, I could have asked for much more, but I didn't go into it. Honestly, if it was up to me, I would have only been in Atlanta for 6 months, like tops. It would have never gave a whole 2.5 years. I think that's what it was. Like, I moved April 2022 and I left in January of 2025. Yeah, it would have never been that long. But I will be in Atlanta that like second year, and I will learn so much about myself, about like just who I want to be, who I want to get back to being. I wanted to get back to being that LA version of myself that and honestly, you could never go back in time and be that exact same person, because you've grown so much and you want to continue growing. So I'm going to be that version plus more. I wanted to find that like childlike imagination and like creative space again. And I was able to do that. Sometimes when you're living in the situation, it's really hard for you to know what's going on, to see what's going on, because you're living in it, and especially when you're not happy in it. It's like when I got towards like, I wouldn't say as soon as that second year hit, moving into the new apartment, I wouldn't say like exactly into it. Oh my god, like it just clicked. No, absolutely not. There was some months into it. I think maybe like January of 2024, and then from there I was like up and down, up and down, up and down. But I feel like I started to appreciate more and just find ways to appreciate where I am, because I'm like, I could be living my dream, and if I don't figure out how to appreciate the now with what I have, I'll never be satisfied. I'll never be happy. Because at one point in Atlanta, I was like, everything that I pretty much asked God for, like any place that I pretty much asked God to move to, other than New York, and I don't know what's going on with that. I just know that it's not my time. But I feel like a lot of times, like a lot of these places that I ask God to move to, I find something to complain about. Like I will be living my dream, and somehow, some way, my mental space will be attacked, and I will just think that the world is crumbling, the world is falling down. Like, and it's just like, it's just not reality all the time. I love Atlanta for what it was for me. Atlanta definitely told me to get back in the race because I didn't want to be there forever. And you know, just I grew. 29 was a crazy year of reflection for me, so it was constantly like a battle of what I want and who I want to be and where I'm at and how I want to change it, and it was a lot of that. So you know, turning 30 there, I had a few months there. I was able to like just have fun. Friends turned 30. You know, some other special things happened while I was there, and I took a day trip to Miami. Like I was just living it up. Like y'all kind of see that part of it, like just the fun parts of it, not really so much like the, oh my gosh, like I'm about to turn 30, or I'm 30 now and I gotta like figure everything out, and it's just everything needs to make sense, like da, 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 da. Just, I mean, like when I say it literally just clicked, it clicked. I was like, okay, yeah, like I knew pretty much a lot of things, but I was like, get back in the race. To be honest, moving back to Virginia technically wasn't my idea. I actually moved back to Virginia because originally me and my best friend were actually talking about moving to Houston, and then I just was like, babes, you already tried this with someone before. Unless it is aligned. I feel like, you know, you really want to move with people that you're super aligned with, because I feel like me and my best friend that I lived with, that we ended up living together, I feel like we were two completely different spaces of life, and I was expecting a sleepover every night. Like we did have a Love Island moment, and that was, I love that moment. But it just wasn't that every day, and that's kind of what I was expecting. Like I'm like, it's my last year of my 20s, it's my hoorah, like to live with my best friend, and we just finna, you know, be on the couch eating takeout with our chopsticks and like the movies. And it just didn't happen that way. We just weren't in the same space of life. So with my other best friend, we're like talking about moving to Houston together, and her lease was like a month after mine, so technically I was gonna have to come back to Virginia and then move to Houston. And so from there, she kept pushing the date back. Like this is like a year out, she's like already pushing the date like back and back and back and back, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? Moving back to Virginia just started to become a decision of my own, because signing another lease sounds crazy because I don't want to be in Atlanta, and I don't know where exactly I want to be. So that's kind of the space that I was in leaving Atlanta. I was like, I know I want to move somewhere new. I know I don't want to be in Virginia, but I need a pit stop in Virginia to figure out what that looks like. Because I'm like, okay, I did LA, I did Paris. I'm like, do we want to go back to any of those? Do we want to go back overseas to somewhere else? Do we want to live in the States? Where do we want to go? Like, I travel, and every time I travel, I want to live there. I'm like, I love Cabo. I think I could do a little Cabo. I went to Montreal. I'm like, I love Canada. They speak French. Why not? It's a no-brainer. And then, of course, like, I'm in Spain, and I'm like, I could do a little Spain. And then I go to these cities, and I'm like, I can do Miami. I could do New York. Maybe a little Dallas, maybe back to LA, maybe, like, I mean, aside from North Dakota and Idaho, like, if a city gives me a good time, other than Denver, I had a really good time in Denver, but I have no desire to move there. Honestly, I don't really have a desire to go back, maybe like once, but not too much, not too much, okay? But yeah, I'm always like, oh yeah, I could do this one. Show me a good time and I can do it. Like, I can make it work. In my mind, I'm always like, all you have to do is, the amount of the lease is all you have to do in my mind. Like, I'm like, so if you sign a 6-month lease, you just have to stay 6 months in that city. And if you hate it, you're out of there. A year? But I mean, honestly, when you think about it, like, it's like, yeah, a year's not that long because the year is gonna fly by, but like at the same time, a year is a long time realistically for you to hate where you live and you just moved there just because you had a good weekend there. And so I think the thing about it is, it's like, not even that I think, I know. The thing about this time around, I want to move differently. I didn't really strategically move to Atlanta, but it was something that I needed. God showed me so much there, and I'm appreciative. Even though at one point in time I gave Atlanta a 0 out of 10. I hated living there so bad. But I will say I will leave giving Atlanta, it's back at a 6 out of 10 for me. Not my favorite place to live, but I feel like it could be perfect for somebody else. Don't let my story deter you, because honestly my story is just where I was. Well, my homeboy, he packs up my car. I'm on my way back to Virginia, and I'm just so happy. Like, I've never been happy to be back in Virginia, but this time it felt different. This time I had planted the seeds for moving back to Virginia to make sense, for it to be my decision. It wasn't something I was being forced to do or anything like that. I wasn't moving here because I didn't find a job or I didn't find a place. I was moving here because I had a set plan for myself, or I have, because I am here now, but I have a set plan for my life. And I'm like, I can't really care about anything else other than me getting to my next destination, and have had time to just sit down and enjoy life. Like, I've been enjoying life. I've been having a ball. I've been having, so my creative juices are flowing. I'm back in my bag. Like, your girl is like, oh, I have ideas after ideas after ideas. Like, I'm sitting on $1,000,000 ideas over here now that I have not thought of, heard from God or anything for 2.5 years. I feel like maybe I have, but it was a blockage somewhere. I mean, like, literally been back. I've been able to have my Sundays. I've been able to enjoy my Mondays. Mondays is one of my, Sundays and Mondays are like my 2 favorite days of the week. I've been watching church like on Sunday. I've been like just in worship, just like having time. I've been working out. I went to the library. I mean, the last time I went to the library, it might have been, I was probably in college. Like, the library was so random. I've been like just trying different matchas. Like, I've just been having like a good time, and I've just felt so free, and I just felt like I can breathe. And I'm like, wow, I need 2 months every year to really just do nothing. Eat, pray, love, like or no love, I don't know. I've just been able to get content, like content, like love that. And I've just been able to get my long form content. I've been able to get my short form. I've been having like my days. I've actually started to wake up a lot earlier. I've been trying things that I wouldn't typically try, because my days off were so crucial for me to do things like that I knew I wanted to do. If I was trying something new, it had to be like a restaurant, or it had to be like a cafe or something like that. And now, because I have so much time, I'm able to try other things like hot yoga. I'm sweating, y'all. Classic bar class, strength classes, low impact workouts, but strength, sweating. Things that I hated for so long, and I'm able to explore them, and I'm able to see like what I like, what I don't like. I've been cooking. What? Cooking? Disgusting. You couldn't get me to cook 2 years ago. Like, ill. Yeah, I've been maybe some things just aren't that bad. Maybe you're just over life. You're over it, and you just need to take a break. And that's where I'm at, and it's a beautiful space. And I'm just so happy. I'm so excited. Not every day is peaches and roses. Some days I am like, what the am I doing? what was the reason? What was the point of moving back? Like, some days, when January, I definitely was getting like so many Atlanta alerts, like of events and stuff like that, and I was just like, I'm missing out, I'm missing out. Like, and that's one thing about me, I will make a decision and then be like, if it doesn't feel like 110% the right decision as soon as I move, I'll feel like I'm missing out on something, especially when I left somewhere that isn't like back home. So like, whenever I leave Virginia, I never feel like I'm missing out on anything. But like, I didn't even want to be in Atlanta. So to be like, well, maybe everyone was right, I should have stayed. And I'm like looking out the window like, the rain, it's falling. It's just so, I am the drama. Like, I am literally dramatic. And a lot of times, like, am I actually going through it, or am I just being the drama? I don't know. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. We're navigating 30 together, because I'm not in my 30s. I'm literally only 30. So I'm new here, just getting here, you know? So we're gonna navigate it together. We're gonna navigate my new space of life together, navigate what's next together. And I can't wait to, yeah, I'm just so excited. Like, this video feels so freeing, and to do it in a space, because I tried to do the video before, but I felt like I wasn't in the space to really like sit back and reflect on where we were now, and to appreciate the space that we were in now. Like, God, thank you, because I needed this time. Like, I needed this space more than I knew that I needed, and he always knows what you need more than what you know. And sometimes if you just sit back and let him do his thing, like, you will be so grateful in the end. And the amount of things that will happen is like, genuinely, I cannot thank him enough, because wow, our year 30 has been 20s with knowledge. So when whoever said that, when people say that, y'all definitely ate with that one. I give that to y'all. Like, props to y'all, because it's definitely been 20s, but with the knowledge that you didn't have before. So yeah, a beautiful space. And if you're turning 30 like in the next few years, or you just turned 30, just know, like, it's a beautiful space. As long as you see it that way, as long as you take everything that you learned from your 20s and take it into 30, you will be okay. Life does not stop. Life does not like just immediately say, it just gives you like an old card and all of a sudden you just can't do anything. No. I feel like, if anything, you could do a lot more than what you was doing in your 20s, because yeah, you have so much knowledge. And yeah, this is the Ebony Nicole, and bisous bisous, love y'all.